What's going on, good people? Welcome to day 23 of the 31 days of value. And I'm so happy to be here because I'm so excited about this 31 days of value. You know, I started it obviously from a place of just wanting to help. And it's really just nice to know that an impact is being created. I'm, very grateful to be able to serve you in some way and help you build your business. With that said, today we're going to talk about something that's very, very important to me. That's your word. And my grandmother used to say to me, one of her core statements to me, very grateful for her, was your word is your gold. And it's so not and that's what today's topic is. It's your word. It's your word and how valuable your word is. Not only just what you say, but how valuable what you say is to your team. And, it's so easy to make promises to your team. And unfortunately, those promises sometimes, don't get fulfilled. And sometimes that's with intent. And sometimes it's simply because you didn't have the right system in place to make it happen. But either way, whether it's because it was intentional or because the system wasn't there, it's your fault and it devalues your word. So let me give you some examples. And for me, I've kind of known this from a standpoint of being an employee when something was promised me as an employee. And I'll kind of give you a little background. I was at a credit union and I was a top performer there. I had, outworked everyone in the office. I even helped set a sales record. I was recognized nationally for doing refinance loans. Like I really went all in on this job, and I was told that there was going to be a 1-year performance review, which generally included a raise if that individual has done an exceptional job. So me winning awards and really helping grow this company, I'm like, there's no way I'm not getting a raise. So, as time went on and I got closer to my 1 year at this job, I didn't receive any information about, the performance review. And ultimately, like even leading up to it, I asked the branch manager who wasn't responsible for that. It was more of a corporate thing. I said, hey, are they going to call me in for my performance review? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, they'll get to you. And my year went by, a year and a month went by, and I just realized that no one called or cared. And I honestly checked out because I'm like, man, that's so lame. I'm busting my butt for this company. I was promised this performance review, which included a raise, and no one seemed to care. Now, whether they forgot about it or whether it was intentional, like, hey, Tanner's good, he's making money, we don't want to pay him anymore. Whatever that was, what really matters was my interpretation of it, which was, we don't care. That's always going to be my interpretation of it. Generally speaking, people are not going to give you this little benefit of the doubt, like, oh, well, maybe he got busy. No, he doesn't care. He's trying to save. They're trying to save money. So as I started my painting business, I realized that my word is so valuable, and I'm very, very careful when it comes to making promises. And generally speaking, we're going to deal with 1 to 3 different variables when it comes to making promises to our team. Number 1 is going to be financial promises. Number 2 is going to be role-based promises. So for example, if I have a painter who tells me that they, at one point want to be a crew leader, and I say, hey man, you know what? In 2 months, you can be a crew leader. And he just, and I say, you just have to keep doing a really great job. Okay, well, guess what? That individual might alter their efforts hinged on your promise. They might start working harder, showing up earlier, doing all the necessary things, thinking that you are really going to deliver on that promise. And when that 2 months hits, the last thing that person wants to hear is that they're not going to get that opportunity because of whatever the reason. Oh, we don't have enough jobs. Oh, unfortunately, I thought it would go this way, or you've been doing a really great job, but it's just not going to work out. Okay, so that individual, guess what's going to happen? Whatever momentum they've been building to earn that new position is gone. And what you what they then replace it with is resentment. And when you have resentment running throughout your team, it's over. Like it's very hard to overcome a team that's filled with resentment because of the leader's inability to keep their promise. The same thing goes with finances. Hey, you know what? You've been working really hard. I can't do the raise right now, but you keep working hard. I'll get you a raise within 90 days. Well, the 90 days comes and goes and the raise doesn't come, and then you come up with some excuse as to why you can't do it. So in other words, what you're doing is you're manipulating, because generally speaking, when you give a promise like that, they have no choice but to believe you, and they're changing their patterns of behavior, hoping that you fulfill your promise. The third type is going to be a promise that's based off of, some sort of like help, like generally speaking, like, and I'm trying to drill this down of like a real scenario. It's like, hey, we're going to hire more help, or we're going to get better equipment, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like, again, like it doesn't matter if you're like intentional about it and have good intentions about keeping the promise, or, you just are not intentional, right? Like it doesn't matter. So the thing is you need a system. First of all, you need a guiding principle first. That guiding principle is going to be, I don't promise things unless I can 100% guarantee that I can fulfill them. Number one, because you're pretty much wagering people's lives. Number two, I don't give anything without a measurable deliverable in return. Okay, you want a raise. Awesome. So you want more responsibility. Is that true? Yes, I do. Okay, great. So you're a painter. You want to be, the two-man on the crew. So you want to be the crew manager's assistant. Yes. Okay, great. So the crew manager's assistant does inventory, and they're responsible for cleaning out the van. Okay, so what I'm going to do is have you do that, and I'm going to have you do that for 60 days. I'm also going to have you be the person that manages our company cam on the crew, and you're going to be the one that takes pictures and updates the office of the progress. And based on how you do that for the next 60 days, we're going to sit down and have an assessment, and then from that point on, we'll discuss a raise based on your performance there. How does that sound? That's how you do it. And you put it on your calendar for 60 days from that conversation, and you create this 60-day mark. Now, you can kind of be a little more intent if you want, and you can go in and say, okay, now I'm going to give you this tracker, and I'm going to do all this and do all that if you have the ability to. But the most important thing is you set a date for it, and you create a deliverable. So there's a mutual exchange happening. It's like, okay, you want it, you want this, I can give you this if you do that, and we're going to measure your results at this amount of time to determine if I can do that for you. Or you create a hedge against your promise. Hey, I want to be a crew leader. Totally understand that. I think you'd be a great crew leader, but here's your areas of improvement. You're not very good at spraying doors, and I noticed the last time you painted soffits, you got some overspray on the roof. I can't have this conversation with you right now because one of the core competencies of our crew leaders is they can be flawless with spraying, and they're very careful. What I'll do is I'll ensure that Julio checks your work from now until next month, and we can have a conversation around being a crew leader once we notice an improvement in your work. I didn't promise anything. There was no need to set a date to have a meeting. It was like, this conversation is ineligible until you do X, Y, Z. Another example would be, hey, I really need some help on my crew. Totally understand. Like, I get it. Right now, the budget's kind of tight for that. My goal is to have someone as a helper for you in 30 days. I'm going to meet with you in 30 days. I'm going to put it on my calendar, and we'll discuss how to get you a helper on the crew or whatever it is, right? So again, like that's how valuable your word has to be, is that we know that as business owners, like sometimes we just shoot out promises like they're freaking hotcakes, when you got to understand that like your promise is like a seed that gets planted. And sometimes like we're throwing out so many seeds that they're not even blooming. They're just turning into weeds because we don't really nurture that promise. And it's so important. And I learned that on a personal level like obviously through the experience of being an employee and being resentful, but I grew up with a father who had a drug addiction. So I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but like one of the things about someone who's addicted to drugs is they are incredibly manipulative, and they promise everything, and they're really good at making you believe in their promises. Like, I promise this is the last time. I promise I'm sober. I promise I'm done. And it's like their word becomes like meaningless and worthless. And what you'll find with most people that are addicted is that their word has no value. They've completely diminished their word so much that they don't even they can't even look themselves in the mirror, because the way the world looks at them is like, your word has no value. No one believes anything you say. So I hope that you hear this and understand that, like, if you're someone that's making promises to people, like, first of all, if you're not meeting those promises, stop. Just the fact that you provide work is good enough. That's okay. Don't create scenarios of like, hey man, like I even know people that have promised their employees that they'd have their own branch or their own location and never created a plan to fulfill that. And it's like, that's a big promise that you're promising someone that they probably went home to tell their family, thinking that you're going to make it happen, and you're not doing any work behind the scenes to make it happen. Well, guess what? There's going to be a day where that person comes around and says, yo, dude, you promised me that I'd have my own location or my own branch. I've been busting my butt for you, and you've done nothing to achieve that promise. So the next time you promise just has less value. And it's like, I just want to create a business where, like, when I say something, there's a 100% chance that I'm going to make it happen, unless something out of my control happens, or unless I have to come to you and say, hey man, like, I tried, but it's just not in the cards. And I have a good track record. So I'm asking you for some grace on this one, and we'll reassess this when I can. And I do this in both of my businesses. Like, no one gets promised anything. I don't want anyone operating off of the momentum of a false promise. So your word is your gold, and the growth of your business depends on how strong your word is, because people are riding the wave of your word, and you either have a strong foundation under your word, or that word's about to crush, and you don't want to have that happen in your business. So I hope you like this message today. Day 23. Look, it's Tuesday, start of a short week. This is the week. Okay, go back and listen to some of the ones that you might have missed or overlooked. One brick at a time, guys. 31 days of value. Please share this with a friend. Please book a business breakthrough with me. I'm in a high coaching momentum right now, so I mean, you're gonna get some good stuff if you meet with me. Don't be embarrassed. Don't care what people think. You're helping others by sharing your struggles and your story, and I get to help you amongst with all others. It's a safe space here. So join me on a business breakthrough. Share this podcast. Give me a review. I've been stuck at like the same amount of Spotify reviews for like 2 years. Can somebody give me a Spotify 5-star, please? So more people can find my podcast. Love you guys. Thank you. And we'll catch you tomorrow for day 24.